Good afternoon and welcome to Game 7 of Sunday. It is the WFTD A-aligned Tier 3 bronze medal match between Nottingham Arrows and Oxford Blackbirds. I'm Liam Needsom.
And I'm Mr. Hazard, affectionately known as Haz.
And we are joined by our producer, Chris and Chips, who is just off camera. So this is the bronze medal game. Both of these teams have already played today, their third game of the weekend. Nottingham won their quarter-final 324 to 132 against Devon, and were unfortunately not victorious against Cambridge, who won 183 to 164. So would you like to give us the lowdown on Oxford?
Yes. So, I've got Oxford. Oxford, yes. So they played Dublin B Grands. That was yesterday. They won 216 and Dublin scored 179, so naturally that's a win. Then Oxford played earlier today. They came up against the mighty Kent. Unfortunately, a loss of 94 to Oxford to 194 Kent.
Yeah, and of course Kent went straight from that game into their final, which has already been played. We're playing the bronze medal game after the gold medal game today in a quirk of fate, and Kent won that game by 90 points, 183 to 93 against Cambridge Rollerbillies.
So they had a nice warm-up, can't you, really?
Yeah, you think they would just harden themselves out by then, but there you go. So just run through your rosters for you today. First of all, we have Oxford Blackbirds, 03 Beeb, 09 Little Weapon, 13 Mental Floss, 21 Eagle, 217 OU, 247 Filth, 2718 Liz and Let Die, 333 Dread Ditto, 3959 Fox, 451 Thembo Party Killer, 54 Skate Moss, 666 Merciful Skate, 8 the Captain Double Dutch, 88 Fluff, and 92 Ros Not Soz.
Brill. And then for the Nottingham team, the Nottingham Arrows, we've got 02 Tamagotchi, 103 McNabalus, 12 Alf, 1837 Pucker Up, 19 Coincident, 212 Block A, 314 Chloroblast, 451 Betty Malsesia, 541 Rudd, 72 Natastrophe, 85 The Roof Hurts, 88 Tanya, 911 Crash Call, and then typically jamming for them is going to be Skatebush 117, and then Mac 121, Biohazard 29, and I think I've mentioned Rudd already at 541, so a double mention there.
And it is Biohazard first up with a start for Nottingham and out of the pack, and they are up against Liz and Let Die for Oxford. So first lead of the game goes to Nottingham, and Liz and Let Die just squeezing past number 88, I believe that's Tanya there for Nottingham.
Interesting to note, this is actually a rematch from this season between the two teams, in which Nottingham took the game 186 to Oxford's 113. So, believing this is lead to Nottingham, hope it's not going to be a repeat, and I'm pretty sure Oxford have analysed what went wrong in that game and put some fixes in place to make it a closer one.
Yeah, so flat track stats actually tell us there's an 84% chance of a Nottingham win. Nottingham currently 64th in Europe, Oxford 101st, so I'm sure Oxford will have something to say about that. It is level pegging after one jam. And we've got Mac, who is actually jamming in Jam 2 today. Both games she's played previously in the weekend, she has been pivot for the first quarter of a match before reverting to a jammer. Skatebush with the pivot helmet cover on already.
And we've got Little Weapon, who's jamming for Oxford, and also happens to be the birthday skater.
Woo.
So we had a good chant and sing-song earlier in the previous game.
Yeah, so you were announcing that in-house, weren't you?
I was indeed.
And birthday girl gets a birthday present, which is lead jammer. There's worse things you can get for your birthday, isn't there?
Well, one of the best things is probably playing at Playoffs 2024. Great opportunity. I think Lift's quite relatively inexperienced. I think I remember seeing her at a rookie game earlier this year. Perhaps. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if so, what a way to go. What a journey to have been on.
And Mac has passed the star to Skatebush, who was just bearing down on the pack there. I believe that's 3 points being signalled by the Jam ref there for Oxford, so it is 7-3 to Oxford.
And that's going to be... Oh, sorry.
No, please.
No, that's going to be a great confidence boost for Oxford, considering the last meeting they had. So going forwards, if they can carry that energy and that confidence, and importantly the discipline, then hopefully they'll be able to give a real going over on those flat track stats.
Absolutely. Games are not played on paper, they're played on various different surfaces in sports halls, and that's Fembo Party Killer taking a lead for Oxford, their second lead in succession, and Rudd is out of the pack. Also eligible to pick up points. Fembo Party Killer now engaging the pack, comes up against Puck Her Up and calls the jam before Rudd can get anywhere near any points. It might just be the one, I think, is being held up there by the Oxford Jam. 2 points to Oxford, 9-4 after 3 jams.
So in the previous game that I announced for Oxford, the biggest issue they had was their power jam discipline. So they ended up with a fair few power jams, but they didn't really score enough points. Typically they'd get 4 points out of the 30 seconds. And it's that tightness and that precision and discipline that they really need to focus on and take away between the games. And I'm really hoping to see a little bit more in the power jam, should they come up, should I say.
So that is Biohazard up against Rolls, not Soz now. There is one blocker currently in the box. Well, one blocker apiece in the box, according to our statistics. So yeah, in the quarter-final game, Devon gave away a lot of power jams to Nottingham. That's Ros Not Soz getting lead again there for Oxford. That's 3 in a row for them. But Nottingham didn't really capitalise on that. Like you say, they only managed to get about 4 points in that 30-second period. So although there was a lot of power jams, it wasn't really that damaging to Devon in the end. So
you can hear the Nottingham bench there shouting, calling it. And finally Ross cottons onto that. Again, it's another jam win there for Oxford. It's the start that they really want.
Yeah, it's definitely upsetting the flat track stats book, but obviously, with having COVID and all the changes that brought to the Derby world, so how reliable is flat track stats these days? No disrespect to flat track stats, big maths that I don't understand. So that's a 3-0 jam, so it's 12-4, so 2 scoring passes ahead at the moment. It's Mack out for the second time now for Nottingham.
Oh.
And Mack is now cut the track. They thought they were out, but it is now a power jam to Oxford. And it's Liz and Let Die looking to take advantage of the numerical superiority, and they now have a lead. So let's see what Liz and Let Die can do with this.
And this is where that discipline's coming in. Every time a jammer gets a power jam, it's gold, and those opportunities need to be taken. And I've referenced in the previous jam that Oxford need to really be taking these opportunities. It seems to be a little bit better. There was some disorganisation there in the Nottingham wall, discombobulated, and we've got getting the points, they're getting round.
Some great weaving here from Liz and Let Die to take advantage of that space for Nottingham gave them. So Liz and Let Die now re-engaging the wall as Mack returns to track. Mack, of course, on their initial pass, sending an Oxford blocker there, 5-4, that Skate Moss to the ground. So we've got Skate Moss and a Skate Bush today.
So Mack really using the zigzagging, going in and out to try and move that 4 wall that Oxford had put up. And it worked, because then navigated that wall into the static Nottingham wall, and then used that positional offence, whether it was passive or not, to weave in and get out. So put the pressure on for the call off.
So that's 2 points there, 10-point jam to Oxford. They're pulling away now, so it's been a perfect start for Oxford, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, they missed out on jam 1, but they seem to have settled a lot quicker, a heck of a lot quicker this time round.
Of course, this is both teams' second game of the day, their third in just over 24 hours, so that is quite physically demanding, really, isn't it? So you've got to recover from your last game and then get psyched back up again in time for another game a few hours later, and it's just, I don't know how they do it.
Is that a nice little cut there caught on Black 09, the Oxford Jammer? That is indeed. Fortunately making a trip to the sin bin. Worth noting up until this point that every Oxford player has had at least one jam, so they're effectively doing something from their starts. They've had that little wake-up call in jam 1, and they're doing something right that is really throwing out Nottingham, but here we go. This is power jam number 2 in the game. And with Nottingham, that was just better coordination from what I've seen from Oxford so far. Everyone went in for a sweep all at one time. The jammer set it up perfectly. There was no hesitation. But unfortunately, we have another jammer penalty.
Rod is off to the box, so we have our first jammer switcheroo. So I believe that Lethal Weapon was probably there for about 20 seconds, maybe slightly more. So it won't be the full 30 seconds, but of course we will have a full 2 minutes now that both jammers have been to the box. So of which we've got 45 seconds left. So
some lovely gliding footwork from Lethal Weapon on the apex. Getting past. I think that might be. That was the initial pass. Now we're on scoring terms.
Yeah, so these will be the first recorded points of the jam, with 90 seconds having already elapsed.
Much better sweep there from Oxford on the inside. But sadly, Liff was just too embedded on the outside line to be able to sweep back round and take advantage of that.
Lovely apex jump there from Rudd to get through the pack as the that's Tanya for Nottingham evading the offense and holding the jammer back. So
Rudd cutting through that wall like a knife through butter. Great power, great confidence.
Yeah, out of the box and picking up 8 points to Oxford's 3. So that's a pretty good return for Nottingham. They're now just halving the deficit, so 13 points behind.
And what Oxford need to do is not let this go to their heads. There was 2 power jams there given up by both teams, one apiece. Just got to make sure that they keep that switch on stance with the start, because typically that's where they want to take this game. Take the start, get control of the jam. They've got lead. The pressure is on Nottingham at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. So if they can just keep eating away, getting the lead jammer 4 points, hit it, call it off, and just keep that scoreboard ticking over, as they say in rugby when they say take the penalties, keep it ticking over.
So we've got a pretty strong lineup here on our screens at this very moment. Fembo is the 3rd ranked jammer according to the stats from 5 Nations for the season that we just had. Biohazard was the 1st ranked jammer and Rudd was the 2nd ranked jammer. So we've got some of the best jammers in Tier 3 Central on track today. Blocky having a good chin wag. Blocky from the Inhuman League there as well, and obviously Fembo's from the Crash Test Brummies.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I saw Fembo at playoffs for both Oxford and Crash Test Brummies last year. So.
Yeah, the most violent playoffs in history, thanks to the Brummies.
Yes, I did actually get to announce on that game. Well, half of it anyway.
Half of it, yeah. We, in a way, not our proudest moments, but in a way, we take the wins where we can. We have a good chuckle about that. I think it went down well in Derby Half. For every uncontrolled hit, we do a push-up. That's why we're so stacked.
So it's Biohazard now with the star for Nottingham. They took lead in the first jam, and I don't know if we've had a Nottingham lead since then. But, there we go. Biohazard with the lead for Nottingham. Trailing by 12 points, need to start pulling this back, but Fembo Party Killer dancing his way through there. He is out the back. Dancing their way through, sorry.
Little tumble there from the Nottingham blocker, looking to get a little bit of positional offence. It's little things like that, little precise moments like that, where that could have helped the jammer lead the wall into that skater and then use the gap on the inside.
So 4 points there. Biohazard did manage to call the jam before Fembo reached the pack just in time to hold them to 0. So we've got Mac up against Eagle. I think this is the first time we've seen Eagle in this game so far.
Not normal to see Eagle jamming. I haven't seen Eagle jam today yet, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be interesting. Nice change up in style.
We've just got an official timeout.
I wonder if the Oxford jammer, the Eagle Black 2-1, is taking the place of Roz Not Soz 9-2. So I haven't seen Roz just yet. I've seen Roz for one jam.
Yeah, so Roz is on the roster. I've definitely seen him at some point. Mac trying to get past Mental Floss there. Mental Floss just hip checks them off the track.
back block given to Mental Foss there. Again, it's those precise moments. Mac was engaging the wall. They wanted to go for the kill on the jammer, and what's happened is you've gone and given yourself a back block penalty, which is now going to put extra pressure on your wall. And at the moment, Oxford are in pieces.
Yeah, so well, it says Mac is lead jammer, but Mac just got sent to a penalty box, as did Eagle. So we've had a quick jammer switcheroo. Again, we will have a full 2 minutes of this jam. So both jammers should be back on track with over a minute left to play in it. So yes, there's Eagle return to track. So still waiting for someone to complete their initial pass. And there we go, there is Mac having completed. So now we are in points country.
Filth absolutely maximising the track time there before the out of play was called. A little opportunity, and again, it's those kind of hustle elements that people need to be looking for.
So Filth is now the jammer for Oxford, having taken the star pass, and little apex skip there, and again the overlay is saying that Mac is in the penalty box, but I can quite clearly see Mac in the pack. Coming up against Skate Moss there and being wrestled off track. And then number 88 Tanya shifting Filth off track there, but a couple of little apex skips there.
That's a bit of footwork.
On the straight.
From what I've seen, Filth's had a fantastic tournament this weekend. Fast, responsive, adaptable to the position that they're put in. Absolutely phenomenal, and a pleasure to watch Filth.
So Filth just in time to get 1 point more before the jam reaches natural conclusion then. There's an 8-9 jam, so it's a 10-point game now. So Nottingham have closed that gap a little bit, so still double figures between the two. So it's Liz and Let Die up against Rudd for Oxford and Nottingham respectively.
Nice, like Nottingham keeping it together a bit more, which is important, getting a nice kill.
And there's Rudd with lead now. I think that might be Rudd's first lead of the day, which is not a reflection of the weekend they've had so far. And Liz and Let Die has stashed the star and found their way out the pack.
Fox, really good work there to hold the ground, identifying the gaps in the wall. The wall probably left that outside lane a bit too exposed, but Fox was able to utilise the blocker that was given offence, use them in the clogging method, and then use them to take down their own the Nottingham jammer. And the jam was promptly called off. So really good use of track awareness there.
And saved their team a point as well, because it's just the 3 points for Nottingham on that jam instead of the usual 4. There we have Biohazard and it's 09 Little Weapon, the birthday girl out there again. So that is a lead to Biohazard, but Little Weapon is just behind them.
Nice little tactical call off, and Oxford typically. Oh, was that
no,
the
I think
whistle
that
from the
was
other track?
the whistle from the other track. It's strange that the whistle from the other track is actually louder than the one on our track. So Little Weapon through and calls.
There's points for both sides there by looks.
Yeah.
From what I saw. But again, it's Nottingham just creeping up on that leaderboard.
So yeah, 4-3. So Anta is now squeezing it to his 6-point game. So still over a scoring pass between them, but in derby terms, that's nothing really as we approach the midway point in the first half. So Mac versus Thembo.
And Oxford typically adopting a jam line start and going for a 4D approach. Just try and catch the brace, and I think that's when they'll start looking at potential offense options.
Thembo particularly just shoving his 3-wall further and further away and takes the deserved lead jammer there.
No, they're just doubling down on defence there, Oxford.
And Thembo now engaging the wall, puts a leg around Skate Bush and pivots around and is out of the pack. As is Mac. 2 blockers currently in the box for Nottingham. I imagine Thembo will call this in a moment. Yes, he will. So Nottingham will start with a numerical disadvantage now. Oxford having stretched their lead by 8 points now. So it's now up to a 14-point lead again.
So that's the one problem I got with a 4D defence. So as we saw in the Apex in the previous jam, because of the unengaged blocker from Oxford, they weren't able to see that the inside on the Apex, which is typically your most vulnerable spot on track, wasn't being well guarded because of the offence from Nottingham. So if that blocker just disengaged, get to the front a little bit and try and cover that inside line on the Apex, you probably wouldn't have seen the Nottingham get out there, and then there's a little bit less pressure and less need to call it off so soon.
Not Soz Roz is back on track and taking the lead and hitting and quitting, as they say. But that was 3 points to Oxford. 3 points to Nottingham, 1 to Oxford. So the Nottingham Jammer recovering extremely well then from not having lead.
I feel like at this point in the game, both teams are now starting to get really settled. It's going to be down to who makes the most mistakes, not the best plays.
Absolutely. As Biohazard just lining up a bit behind Liz and Let Die there. But Liz and Let Die knocked off track and recycled as Biohazard takes the lead for Nottingham.
It's a really nice bridge in there from Nottingham to just give every single blocker that opportunity to control the jammer. And I think we've just seen a penalty there issued to the Oxford Jammer.
Yes, a forearms penalty. Biohazard coming around the Apex now. Makes light work of that blocker, which doesn't look easy. They're now within 4 points. Again, that 8-point jam so far. Liz and Let Die still currently in the box. Biohazard coming up. One blocker between them and Freedom. And we now have a level game, 46-46. Could we have our first lead change? Liz and Let Die back on track, star in hand. So looking for some space, find some space.
Excellent work there from Liz and Let Die.
And Biohazard calls the jam, so enough is enough. Those points there should be enough to see the lead change. Yep, 14 points, so it's a 48-46 game. 12 minutes left in the first half. So, exciting times.
Nottingham definitely going to be happy with that there power jam. That definitely did the job for them.
That's their biggest power jam of the weekend so far.
Yeah, and it showed Oxford this is how you do a power jam. One problem with a power jam that keeps going on for a longer time is, as we saw Liz and Let Die, I believe it was Liz and Let Die, popped up on the inside there, star off, so they're looking for the star on the helmet, but because they were so sucked into the power jam, they just didn't think, maybe we should do the hit and quit principle, reassess each time we've re-engaged, don't get too sucked into the offense. Because at this point, we're seeing that points really do matter, every single point.
Mac now with a star for Nottingham. Just weaving in and out and leaving the wall in their wake. They're 4 points on the board for Nottingham. They're starting to extend their lead now. But Full Weapon with a star in hand, now out of a pack. Mac is through, calls the jam as expected. And that is 46-56 in favour of Nottingham.
So as it stands at the moment, we said this game's really going to come down to mistakes, and the biggest mistake and the biggest discipline Oxford need to focus on is their forearm penalties. Particularly number 8 has got 3 forearm penalties, and 0-3 has got 2 forearm penalties. You know, when you've got 3 penalties all for forearms, you need to start having a look at yourself and feeding back to coach or bench, you know, what am I doing wrong? How can I engage this differently? Those are the problems that need to be fixed.
Absolutely. So now we have Thembo up against Rudd. And Rudd is out. And weirdly, Thembo now takes the star off. They are looking for their pivot. Well, no, they're not. Their pivot's behind them and they are out. And eligible to pick up points. Lovely little work from Rudd here. Taps the hips, calls the jam.
Now, if I was a certain bench coach from Crash Test Brummies, Seth, I would be wondering if there's an official review opportunity there, because the jammer didn't actually engage anyone and went off track then.
Oh, really? So it could well be a
official review on that. That's again, little mistakes. If there's a bit of contact, not a problem there. Then you've got legit reason why you've gone off track, then promptly called it.
So do you think the bench coach of Stoke City Rollers would have called an official review at this point?
If the bench coach of Stoke City Rollers had a playbook from Seth, yeah.
Now we have a team time out. It looks like it is to Oxford. So just trying to arrest the momentum that Nottingham have had over the last few jams. So Nottingham have got 3 lead jammers in a row by the looks, and they are 12 points ahead now, having been trailing by, I believe it was 16 3 jams ago, so a bit of a turnaround.
It's at this point of, you'd be communicating with your bench. We're 20 minutes into the game. What we're doing now as a team that's kept us in the lead isn't working, so clearly Nottingham have adapted to that, seen that, adapted. Obviously we're seeing the penalties, hopefully I'll get a bit more stats for you as to who's got penalties on each side in total for the both teams, but just looking at the general gist of it, Oxford have got more penalties and it is costing them at this point.
I think it's quite even Stevens on the jammer penalty side of things. It's just Nottingham had that quite sizable power jam. I believe they got 12 points on it. So.
Speaking of power jams and great jamming, we've got Biohazard has had 3 leads in a row up until this point, and this makes it the 4th.
Well, if they don't get it, Eagle might have something to say about that. Excuse me, Senor Hazard.
But when it comes to leads in general, it's pretty even spread out amongst both teams. Oxford have had 6, Nottingham have had 7, and I think that's going to make that 8 now for Nottingham for leads.
Yeah, and 4 for Biohazard in particular, who has 50% of her team's leads. So, but Eagle also out of the pack now, so Biohazard surely going to hit it, quit it. Does exactly that.
And edges out the 4 points.
Yeah, so just under 10 minutes left in the first half. So Nottingham now starting to turn the screw a little bit. Can Oxford respond and just arrest that momentum and get some points of their own on the board?
Well, looking at what Oxford are doing, again, they're going for that backline start on the jam line. And that's what they've been doing, what they've been relying on. And as I stated earlier, Nottingham seem to be dealing with that better and more settled.
Yeah.
They need to start changing something up if they want to claw that lead back. You don't want to go into half-time at a differential where you're at a disadvantage as a team.
So I think there's only 16 points in it. Oh, and I believe Oxford are actually in lead. Liz and Let Die is narrowly out in front. So there we go. Calls a jam, our first double bagel of the day, 0-0. So there's still 16 points. Like we've seen a differential in a jam greater than that. So one jam could just turn this entire game around.
And speaking of Liz and Let Die, Liz is the 4th ranked jammer from Tier 3 Central this season.
So we have all of the top 4 in here, haven't we?
Not quite a Yahtzee, but we're not far off.
Who's 5th? Do we know? So.
I'm sure I'll find out.
To Google. Anyway, it's Little Weapon up against Rudd here. 1 blocker apiece currently in the box. Rudd just trying to push her way through that 3 wall, trying to push it into her own wall to break them up a little bit, but Little Weapon takes the inside line. That's 2 leads in a row now for Oxford, starting to pull themselves back into the game. Though Rudd is also out, so this will possibly just be a 4 points and call it. Maybe not even the full 4 there, so the jam has been called. 1 point. So Oxford have had the last 2 leads, but only scored 1-0 across the 2 jams. So.
Oxford first lead in 6 jams. That's quite substantial, and it highlights what we mentioned earlier, how Nottingham have clearly adapted, and now we're seeing a very different start with Nottingham taking the back line there. Oxford, whether they've chosen to take the front or they're trying to stick to their game plan of the back, we'll see. That's the other track next door. A little bit of confusion there with the whistles.
So it's Little Weapon up against Fembo. Fembo Party Killer. Is there a story behind that name? Is that a reference for anything? Do you know?
The only reference I can take of that is, for some reason, I keep thinking Austin Powers and the Fembots.
Okay.
I'm going to have to ask Fembo when I want to see him.
I mean, it's not their surname or anything, is it? What is their human name?
If I told you, I may have to be.
Yeah, it's like wrestling. We can't.
Can't destroy the illusion. We've got to keep kayfabe.
Yeah, exactly. So
kayfabe lives. Kayfabe is real. Speaking of our mention earlier about jammer stats, it was Red Riot who was the 5th ranked jammer of Tier 3 Central, and for Leeds Roller Derby Bees.
Oh wow!
For the B team. So yes.
So that is a first lead in a few game champs now for Mac. And Roz Nossos now battering her way through with star in hand. Mac is through just about. Did they pick up 3 points there? Nope, all 4 points, so it will be 70 points to 47.
Coming back to the penalties, we've got a nice little pattern emerging from Nottingham's 4-5-1, not to be confused with Oxford's 4-5-1, of a nice streak of directional penalties.
That's Betty Malseizure with that. It's easy to get confused which direction you're facing in the heat of a moment. You see someone coming towards you, you just want to throw a shoulder in.
We've got one team that's got more directional penalties and the other team that's got more forearm penalties, so...
Probably pushing away the person who's directionally blocking them.
Not today, please, mate. No, thank you. A nice stall there.
So Liz and Let Die up against Rudd. This is a very compatible, which is now breaking it up a little bit. So Rudd finds for daylight and is out. Liz and Let Die looking for the star pass. I can't see that pivot. Yeah, probably the one in the box. But Liz and Let Die doesn't need a pivot there. Out.
So with one of the Oxford blockers in the box at the moment, that's obviously going to have a detrimental impact for Oxford's ability to slow the pack down, and that's absolutely critical because once that momentum starts going, jammers like your Biohazards and your Rudds, your Mats, they're nimble, agile, quick to respond, and you've really got to slow that pace down because they're just getting pulled apart. So something needs to happen in that 4th blocker when they've got them. They've got to control that discipline.
I suppose as well, you've also got to commit 100% defence there. You can't send someone out to give your jammer a bit of offence either, so your jammer's then stuck in if you're
Well, that's what Oxford had been doing with their starts on the jam line, but obviously with the way that Nottingham have adapted to that, and now we're seeing different starts coming out of both teams, it seems like Oxford are starting to fall behind on that awareness and that responsive and struggling to adapt because they got so set in a particular way.
It's a lovely little dip under the backside of a blocker there, pick up a few points and call them 4 points. So it's been a while since we've seen Oxford score. I see a lot of zeros on the stat sheet to my left. Exactly how many I'm on. So how many jams that? Oh no, they scored 3 jams. But it looks like it's 1, 2. It looks like they've only scored 1 point in the last 9 jams, Oxford. So that's the big difference between the two teams. And of course that 1 point was when they had the lead earlier on. So, official timeout. Discussing official things.
One thing I saw that was really eye-opening in the previous game actually was how not a single official review was called. I think I announced that one. It was Oxford versus. It escapes me now.
I've got it written down here. Oxford versus Kent.
That's it. No official reviews from either team.
Wow, that was impressive. I think we might have had 2 both in the first half of the Nottingham against Cambridge semi-final. Both were, I don't think we had any in the second half. So.
Okay, so Oxford dropping back to a nice backline start there. Trying to shake it up a little bit. And now we've got some real good clogging action going on both jammers.
See, as a jammer, I imagine I would absolutely hate this. And as a blocker as well, because you see sometimes the free wall surrounding another free wall, and you think, aren't you just sort of going to trip over each other? But it never seems to happen. but that is Mac out. Another lead for Nottingham. But Thembo also out. But Mac taps the hips before they can get anywhere near the points.
Some really nice offense there from the Roof Hertz, opening the lanes up for Mac to get through on the inside there towards the apex. Helps contribute to those 4 points. Proper dynamic shift in this game with 2.5 minutes left.
So it's Rudd now up against Liz and like Die.
Oxford here looking a bit separated. They went for a 2-2 start. It's paid off.
Yeah.
And they've caught the jammer.
A much needed lead jammer for them. The star has been passed. I believe that's Pucker up now with the star for Nottingham. The 4 points and none for Nottingham.
This is a great example of why it's so important. As soon as you need jammers that are aware to when lead is being called on the other jammer. This is a great example we just saw. The Nottingham jammer, as soon as they heard it, helmet cover came off, and then there was a nice little sneaky star pass there on the inside. Oxford completely oblivious to the pass that was even going on, and therefore you had a successful star pass with no challenge. And that, again, they've been forced to call off the jam earlier than they'd like to.
So it's something like we don't see a lot of with jammers. They just try and plug away and get nowhere. But if you take the star off, it diverts the attention of at least one blocker who's then got to try and deal with your pivot to stop you from passing. So we have some offensive jamming effort. Thembo was the lead, but was held up and called for jam. And it's a second double bagel.
Speaking of leads, so Briar has gone and got 8 leads out of 9 jams that they've jammed, which is pretty impressive stats.
Yeah, it's not bad, really.
I remember seeing Newcastle's Lucy the other day in one period, 100% lead success record. And, you know, it can't be done just by purely the jammers. Your blockers still play an integral part. And it's the dynamic, isn't it, of the offense, the defense switch that roller derby is. And I feel this is partly what Oxford are missing out on, which is why they've lost so many points. They've not reacted, they've not got enough leads, they've not got control of the game. And now they're at the point where suddenly we're losing the game, 30 points, 31 points. And again, the starts, 5 leads in a row for Nottingham, just says it all. Something needs to change with the starts from Oxford.
So Oxford a little bit better getting out at the same time as the jammer there, but I think the jam was called with 2-0 to Nottingham. And is that the last action of the first half? It says intermission on our screen, just waiting. I believe that is the half-time whistle, so we now have a 15-minute break. It's been a quite interesting game so far, isn't it? Oxford dominating the early stages, but Nottingham pulling back into it and starting to pull ahead. So
yeah, and Oxford really need to address that. They need to be in that team chat, and they need to be saying, look, we've got stuck in our ways. They've adapted. We still need to fix that, and that's the essential thing that bench coach needs to be looking for this time round.
Okay, so we got 15 minutes to get their point across. We got 10 minutes apparently. 10 minutes to get a point across. I've got 10 minutes to quickly run to the bathroom, as do you. We will see you very shortly.
Very briskly walk. Safety first.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the second half of Nottingham versus Oxford in the Tier 3 WFTDA bronze medal match. So Nottingham leading Oxford 85-51. Oxford having the early lead, but Nottingham pulling their way back in and then starting to get a bit of a lead built up. So as a bench coach, how would you deal with this in Oxford's position, at Nottingham's in fact?
Well, the first thing they've got to address, and I think we really nailed it from the halfway through period one, is Nottingham adapted, and I banged on about that a lot. They adapted to the start that Oxford were doing, and Oxford were just not really adapting to it. That's why we saw like the skaters like Matt getting 5 leads in a row, or Bryo getting 7 out of 8, or 8 out of 9 leads. And obviously the penalties wise, I'll be saying to my lot, your forearms. It's quite prevalent in Oxford's stats that their forearm penalties are pretty bad, and it's lots damaging when you lose a blocker, especially when we've seen as soon as they lose a blocker, that pack starts speeding up, and those gaps really start to open up, and people like Mack are just taking advantage of that. But the most critical thing is they've really got to change something about their starts.
So if you were in Nottingham's position, would you just say more of the same, please?
Yeah, well, Nottingham clearly seem to be able to adapt on the fly more easily. Realistically, as a bench coach, I'd like to have at least 2 options from the back, 2 options from the front. And we're only really seeing 1 option from the back from Oxford. And when they are at the front, they're not settled with it. They got away with a nice 2-2 going on, but it's not as settled, and the gaps are still happening. But again, it's a combination of penalties, poor starts, but absolutely horrific. Horrific. Not horrific. That's really harsh. That's overly harsh. It's not horrific. It's just Nottingham are adapting way better to those starts, and then utilising the gaps that Oxford are creating with themselves, because they're not able to move laterally as a result. So just the Nottingham wall just gets in, and the jammer pops on round.
So you think Oxford should maybe mix up the starts a bit? The clog doesn't seem to be working all that effectively now. Maybe try to take a pivot line, do you reckon?
Yeah, I'd say Oxford are doing well when they're doing their 4D and when they're getting it cinched in. But again, as you mentioned earlier, that free wall needs to be left alone to do what the free wall needs to do, so that the offense is there creating the gaps, because all that's happening is it's just draining the energy from the jammer. And the longer the jammer goes on, the more tired they'll get. If you don't get your starts right, you don't get lead, you don't get control.
Wonderful, and we are just about ready to get the action underway. It's Biohazard up against... I'm just trying to look. 271. Oh, that's... Sorry, it's the red highlight to highlight who the jammers are, which is where I should have looked on the list. That's Liz and Let Die. It says Liz and Let Die up against Biohazard. Brio's... Both their hands went out there, so they do have to recycle. And Liz and Let Die takes advantage of that and takes the first lead of the half to Nottingham for Oxford.
Oxford taking a start at the front of the main part of the pack. Even with a disadvantage of having a skater in the box, they're able to pull off getting lead. That's a confident start, and Oxford need to take notes of that and keep playing that behaviour and keep working with it. So if they can do it with 3 people and get lead, then it should be even easier with 4 people.
So the jam ref is signalling 3 points to Oxford there, just before they called it. And it is Mack up against Thembo Party Killer. This is a combination we saw in Jam 2 of the first half as well.
One Oxford blocker that's got to keep an eye on themselves and their behaviour is number 8, which is...
That's double Dutch for captain.
Captain, oh dear, better not get any captain penalties, otherwise you're in real trouble. Thembo
the bench better behave themselves then. Thembo Party, because Oxford starting the second half strong as they did the first half as well. So.
That's it, they've got to maintain that mental focus, that discipline.
Just love the way Thembo just makes that look so easy, just stepping between them all. Calls the jam before Mack can get any points. Picks up 3 for themselves.
I bumped into Thembo on the way to the toilets, and one word I got was, or name, Blocky. Blocky has been the bane of Thembo's existence this entire game.
Blocky's name came out of my lips a lot in this morning's game as well. Just anytime anyone tried to go up the inside line, Blocky said no. I think I saw 3 smashes in succession from Blocky. It's Betty Malseizure there trying to push the jam around the play.
I think there's 4 on penalties just been issued.
Yeah, that is Rudd heading to the box. So it's a power jam now to Oxford, and it is Eagle with the start for them.
Ooh.
And they just slide past Betty Malseizure, and they have leads. So that's 3 leads in 3 jams at the open of this half for Oxford. So whatever bench coach said at half-time is working.
They've still got a way to go. So they've got to be consistent, focused. And at this point, I feel like they're losing focus now with their power jam. You know, one thing us Brummies would do is we pull back and we go that extra blocker. So you're creating that gap, you're creating a new pack at the back, and suddenly them at the front are forced to give up position, to stop engaging. And Oxford aren't reacting to that.
And Rudd is out of a pack. so that's restricted him to just 4 points on that jam. But, 4 points is 4 points, so he's still eating into that lead, so it's now a 24-point game. And here we have Liz and Let Die up against, it's Biohazard again, so a repeat of jam 1 of a half. Oh, so someone has called a timeout. Oh, an official timeout, yes.
Let's just touch again on those penalties that we've been touching on and referencing. So jammer penalties wise, the jammers are typically playing quite a clean game. Mostly clean game from the jammers. 1-2-1, I believe that's Mac, isn't it, from Nottingham?
Yes.
Yeah. Has had a cut and a forearm fairly on and early, but then that discipline's been restored. I think jam 2 we saw a penalty from Biohazard or Rudd, was it one of the two?
I believe it was Rudd, yes.
Yeah, and then as a whole, it's mostly the blockers that are getting the penalties. Oxford have racked up between them 7 forearms penalties, 2 in subs. So that could potentially not be getting off the track quick enough.
It could be.
That's positional awareness, 2 directions, 1 illegal contact, out of play blocking clearly, and track cuts 2.
Interesting stuff. So we now have, so it's Liz and Let Die up against Biohazard. Biohazard is out. So first time since, I think it's the first time this half they've actually had lead jammer, I believe. So. But Liz and Let Die also out and closing in faster. Biohazard needs to just hit and call the jam, as they do. There's Liz and Let Die pick up any points there.
There was much better positional work there from Oxford, holding that line, taking more of a neutral position in the middle of the track, so it's easier for them to close down the gaps and force Brio off track. And also protect the points, because then you had the floater that was stood at the back, so instead of having a row of 3 of them, you've got the floater at the back behind the brace, protecting that point, covering any initial gaps. Unfortunately, they had lead that time, so they made the call. I believe, was it Brio that got lead? It was, wasn't it?
It was Brio that got lead, but Oxford did actually manage to outscore them 3-2 in that jam. So although they didn't get lead, they did eat a little more into the differential. And Thembo, party killer, looking to kill the Nottingham party here by putting some more points up on the board.
Oxford looking more coordinated there with their power jam start. They all had initial set positions, but again they're letting the jammer do all the engaging. They're forcing the drag out.
So speaking of power jams, Mac has gone to the box, so Thembo has the freedom of a track to eat a little more into that lead. So it's now a 19-point game. My mental maths isn't all that strong, especially my head has gone already today. Too much concentration.
This is good from Oxford. That for some reason Thembo's just powering through. Mac's now back, re-engaged. Bit slow there from Oxford, and unfortunately they paid the price.
I'd say, fortunately, it is still only Mac's initial pass, so there's no points been sacrificed just yet. And no points will be sacrificed if Thembo decides enough's enough. How many points we're looking at on that pass? Is that 4 being held up? Yeah, so 12-0 pass. And now it's a 9-point game. Sorry, 11-point game. So
just the boost that Oxford needed to get back into this game.
It's a tremendous start of the second half, isn't it? But then they started the first half extremely well. So.
And if Oxford carry on the way they are, they're going to beat the previous points that they scored against Nottingham, which was 113. And they're doing a great job of holding the points down, considering Nottingham scored 186 against them earlier in the season. Yeah,
it's a very low-scoring game so far. But so here we have Rudd up against a lethal weapon. And Rudd, are they inbounds?
The jammer taking the safe bet there and coming off track.
It's hard to say whether, especially with missed camera angle, I couldn't see, so better safe than sorry.
Sadly, Black 8 there destroyed their own wall, taking the space of their own blocker, creating the gap on the outside, which then Rudd's gone and taken.
And Little Weapon has passed the star to Phil. Phil now jamming for the second time today. Biohazard skips past OU and picks the 4 points and calls a jam. So I believe that's the first time this half that Nottingham have actually had a positive differential at the end of a jam.
It's been a while since we've seen a star pass as well.
Yeah.
Or it feels like, anyway.
So Liz and Let Die up against Biohazard. This is a combination we've seen a few times today. Sure if we had an official timeout for a moment then, but it must have been on the other track. So Biohazard,
I think
possibly a back block there. No.
Position was established by Black 5-4, but obviously not assessed by the refs.
Yeah, I saw a whistle go to a mouth. So I thought it was imminent, but Liz and Let Die takes lead jammer anyway. So Biohazard. Liz and Let Die's hands were moving towards the hips before she even hit the wall there. So 3 points to 0. So,
and that's all Oxford need to do at this point. Just get your starts right, control the jams, and you get lead. You get a few points, and just creep all the way back up. You control lead, you control the jams.
Yeah.
It seems like they've come back into the second period. Gone 9 minutes in. We've seen a really good increase in points from Oxford. They've just got to be consistent.
Yes, a 12-point game now, and last time Thembo was on track, they scored 12 points to 0. So if it's a repeat, we could be level pegging, if not more. So Thembo keeps up their side of the bargain and takes the lead. So we've had 8 jams now. I believe that's 7 leads to Oxford in this half, but Matt is out of the pack, so in theory just one scoring pass here.
And that is just some phenomenal offense to defense switch from Oxford there. They've obviously recognised Max got out. They've all come back for a brilliant 4-person sweep, opened up the inside of the track for Thembo to easily get round, get the 4 points, and obviously make the tactical call off to stop Mac. But that's the kind of opportunities they need to be switching onto, and it feels like Oxford have come back to this half more awake, and we're now seeing it in the points being reflected.
The only question is now, will Nottingham come out in the latter half of the half like they did in the first half and start to pull away? So,
well, I think we might see the dynamics start to change a bit now. We've got a team timeout. Don't know which team's called it, but it's
I believe it's Nottingham have called it.
So Nottingham have called a team timeout, which is going to give Oxford a really good opportunity to address the issue, or the elephant in the room, which is number 8 has fouled out following a destruction penalty. The tail of the tape says 4 forearms, 1 destruction, 1 cut, and 1 positional. So, directional. D for directional. So, those 4-1 penalties, biggest offender off the pitch. Is that going to change the dynamic? Was that the track general that's helping keep things together? Not from what I've seen. But again, they've got to be consistent. They've got to react to that quickly, get their priorities straight, sort it out, react.
So now it is an 8-point game. And Liz and Let Die, this time up against Rudd. Normally they tend to go up against Biohazard, so Nottingham changing the order of things a little bit here.
Yeah, Rudd very much calmer start there from Rudd.
Yeah, so Liz and Let Die skipping from side to side to just create some space on the inside line. But Rudd also out of the pack.
We've got Oxford's Fox 359 in the box. Started that jam, but it's a great start there for Oxford. They've gone and got themselves lead. They've gone and got points. Have they got their blocker out the box? No, their blocker is standing. So they're going to start with 3.
Okay, so that's another 4 points there. So we are just one scoring pass between the two sides now. So we could have a second league change of the day. Exciting times. Oh, we've got a brand new jammer. Oh no, it's not. It's Rosnot Sauce, sorry. Up against Biohazard. Oh, you were pointing at the 2992, were you? No? Oh, okay. I don't know what you were pointing at then. Am I reading that right? Is there 3 penalties for that jammer? Oh, no. not jammer blocker is what I meant to say. Anyway, it's a lead jammer status for Biohazard.
As fortune would have it. Oh, sorry, I apologise.
No,
as fortune would have it, it's only 1 penalty that's been issued to Oxford's 359.
A much-needed lead there and a few points just to ease a little bit of that pressure. Just waiting to see how many have been assessed.
Also, a nice quick star pass there from Oxford.
Oh, yes. And we saw Phil with the start for the 3rd time in the game. Is that 0 points, is it? So it's a double bagel, so it's still a 4-point game. Fembo Party Killer up against Mac. Probably each side's best blockers, best jammers currently out on track. Mac now weaving away through to the front. 3 blockers down between them and lead now.
And we have a power jam to Nottingham as Fembo takes their place in the box.
30 seconds to think about what they did. And here comes the cavalry, Skatebush, and someone else whose number I didn't quite catch. They're attempting the sweep.
Fembo getting an illegal contact. More than likely the foot came off track on the inside, went to re-engage, possibly something to do with that.
Easily done. Or not, as the case may be.
One way or another, it's costly, because that's the kind of mistakes Oxford don't want to be making.
Fembo is back on track now, and they're still holding Mac in there for just a 4-point pass, just a 1. And Fembo out of a pack as well, overtaking Mac. Mac calls it. And they have put 4 more points between the two sides. It was an 8-point game, as we're not far off the halfway point in this half.
So Oxford, if they take the back line, we saw in the previous jam, Oxford will do the 3 across the jam line with the brace, and then Nottingham are just slotting into a crush position there behind the brace. It doesn't give them any room whatsoever, but obviously Oxford, clearly they feel this is their most comfortable start, but it's really damaging their ability to laterally move. They're capped inside, so it's really difficult for them to rebuild their walls at the front. So then they've overcommitted.
A few people take a tumble there, but then there is lead there for Liz and Let Die for Oxford. Still maintaining their quite dominant start to the second half here. An Oxford blocker heading to the box there for a forearms penalty, I believe. So all 3 people in the box have forearmed people. Everyone was kung fu fighting.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Skatebush back on track now. The jam has been called off. I believe that's 2 points being held up. 3 points. 5 points between the two teams now.
I'm still seeing a more comfortable and confident Oxford team in period 2. We've got halfway to go, 5 points in it. They're going back to the starts they know, but they're dealing with things a bit better. Like in the previous jam, they were able to get their own jammer out. They just seem a bit more alert and switched on.
They seem to be carrying themselves a lot more confidence. But they've got 2 blockers in the box. O'Brien takes advantage of that. And Eagle currently still and now takes the star off, looking for the star pass.
And you've got Skatebush being aware to the jammer making the approach, but again, you can't get too overly caught up in doing your offense. For that very reason, we had 1 blocker instead of 2 blockers. And now you're going to start hemorrhaging points. Fantastic positional work there from 1837.
So that's 2 passes and a call off. So now Nottingham starting to just re-establish their lead now. So
that was mostly down to the fact that there was 2 Oxford in the box.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
They were forced to do a start from the front. And you know, at that point, I'd be asking my jammers, you need to work with that. You need to do a little bit of delayed play, a little bit. Just, you know, you're at a real disadvantage when you're up against 4 people on track.
So you use the jammer as a defender in
that
sort of
that's
situation.
How I'd go about it.
That looks like both sides up to full strength again now. Fembo Party Killer up against Mac. This is a combination we've seen quite a few times in the second half. Mac now at the back track. Fembo trying to push away Crash Call and takes the lead for Oxford.
Watch out for the star pass. Mac's got the helmet cover off. Desperately trying to get through to pass it, which is perfect time for Fembo.
Crash Call now has for Star. Pushed her way out. Oh, in fact, they've been told to hand it back. Now it has been handed back, and is it hand back again? No. But anyway, meantime, Fembo always picking up points.
Fantastic work there from Crash Call. Great awareness. Having to do so many responsibilities there, looking for the star pass, blocking the jammer, closing the lanes, and got a really nice kill on, which brought them some seconds back.
So Crash Call's a very clever player. I've seen her over a few years just getting better and better and better. She's a pleasure to watch, really.
Also plays for the Inhuman League, to my understanding.
That is correct, I believe so, yes. So that's an 8-point jam for Oxford there. So Nottingham have passed the century point. Oxford just 2 points shy of it now. 5 points with differential again. 13 and minutes, 50 seconds left. So
let's see if we can get some intensity out of Red. I feel like Red started to just drop back a little bit more passive, not as explosive. I mean, the Oxford blockers do look like giants when blocking Red.
And Liz let die doing that thing where she dances to the right and then quickly cuts it up the left-hand side. And I think the blockers must be tired now because they don't seem to be covering the track as much as they probably would have done earlier on in the day. But 2 games in one day is a heck of a lot to ask of people. And
3 games in one weekend. It's pretty intense, especially at the level that they're beginning to play at. Yeah, it's tier 3. But there's not a lot of boundaries that separate those teams in some cases.
Yeah.
I'd rather play 3 games in one day than play 1 game, have all the DOMs set in.
Yeah.
Especially if you've won that first game, great. But if you've lost that first game on day 1, you've got to get that energy and bring that energy back, mentally speaking.
Yeah, it's mental, it's physical. So it's knowing where to eat as well. It must be quite difficult. So how much to eat. And despite having 2 blockers in the box, Nottingham have lead through Briar has it. And Oxford blocker heads to box to just try and even things out a little bit, but those 2 blockers did a great job of holding back that jammer Little Weapon for quite a while there.
Yeah, Little Weapon signalling to their lips there about indicating a high block, but as Little the jammer was engaging the blocker, sadly, that's what's happened. The blocker was giving up the ground, Liff was engaging, and unfortunately that would be you putting your own head in that situation. I wouldn't raise awareness to that. I'll just get on with it and get the jam. Your team needs those points and needs that discipline.
Well, I imagine a whack to the face does give you a burst of adrenaline.
It does, and then you channel it into giving the performance that your team needs.
Okay, so 8-point game again now. It's starting to be a bit of a pendulum, backwards and forwards now. Not one team has momentum just yet. And Fembo Party Killer doing a tremendous job, to be fair, so far today. But Mac is also out, so probably a 4-point.
Oh,
jam.
Fantastic offense there from Filth.
4 points scored. Oh,
and that's it. Everyone will hug under the shade.
Mac goes for the apex jump and hits her own skater, but does pick up 1 point there. So it's 4 for Fembo, 1 for Mac. At least that's what I thought I saw the ref. Yep, there we go. It's been confirmed on the screen.
1 more jam again.
1 more jam. 1 more jam. Do you suppose we'll get an overtime jam? I've never seen an overtime jam in my entire life.
You know what? Watching the Sheffield and Hallam game earlier, it really honestly looked like there was going to be an overtime jam.
Well, as Hallam against Rebellion the night before, it looked like it might go that way. 4 points separating them in the last jam. So there's Liz and Let Die. I think that's the 3rd lead in a row for them, if not more.
And this is where the Oxford Jammers just need to keep that discipline, don't get the penalties, get those little points. Very lucky there not to get a cut. That was the finest footwork I've seen go in there on that inside line there from Liz and Let Die. But we're back on an even playing field. It's taken a good half hour of actual game time to get there, but what Oxford is doing is working.
That sets us up nicely for the last 10 minutes. Level pegging, 108 to 108. Sorry, 109 to 109. Wasn't that the half-time score in the Hallam-Sheffield game?
It wasn't too far off.
Something like that. So.
104, 105. I know that the crowd here in attendance all shifted across because of the actual drama that was happening on that track at that time.
So we're competing against the gold medal game in Tier 2 on the other track at the moment. But this is definitely the place to be if you're here. And that is lead jammer for Biohazard. Nottingham looking to just re-establish their lead. Oh, they have a power jam.
There's that mistake we were worried was going to happen.
So Oxford have been quite good defensively on a power jam, so if they can just keep it to 4 points. So here comes Biohazard trying to push her way through, push her way through. So the lead has been re-established for now.
So yeah, we're seeing the forearms penalty start creeping in again for Oxford. If my notes are correct, we've seen 5 very recently crop up. That was a big issue for him in the first half. It's now become an issue for him in the second half, especially as their jammer went and got a forearms penalty, hence why we've got a power jam.
So Betty Malsesia then just doing some lovely offense work on the inside, just smashing a big gaping hole for their jammer on the inside. So 8 points on the jam with a further 3. Yep, so it's an 11-point jam. So 120 to 109, 8.5 minutes to go. Exciting times. Here's Thembo up against Mac. Thembo had a 12-point jam earlier. I believe that's the highest scoring jam we've had as an individual today. So I should just say that with confidence, and no one can prove me wrong apart from the statisticians.
The power of doubt.
So Thembo versus Mac. Mac now takes lead. That's the first time this half Thembo hasn't got lead. Thembo, like I said, quick with a star off and out of a pack, so will stop the flow, as they say here.
Mac there taking advantage of the disarray in the Oxford 4 wall and just cutting right through the centre line there.
So the mistake starting to show in the Oxford wall now, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the first biggest crack. I mean, it stemmed from the power jam from the previous jam, which has really put them back behind. Every time they claw back, they get pushed back down again, and it's that consistency they're not maintaining. In terms of consistency, we've only had 2 successful star passes up until this point as well. So whether they're not needed it, because typically they are pretty quick, or the jam is able to get out.
Yeah, we've seen about 3 or 4 from Nottingham, haven't we? So, no, Phil plays for Oxford, didn't he? Anyway, Listen Let Die doesn't need a star passes. They are out, and neither does Rudd. They are hot on the heels. 1 block apiece in the box. Listen Let Die hits, turns, calls it.
And that's another great stat there that Liz and Let Die gets to put on their record. That's 6 leads in a row now for Liz and Let Die, and that's 6 out of 7 jams where Liz and Let Die has indeed got lead. So again, that's consistency, and Oxford are leaning into that. They just need to give Liz a little bit more time with that defence, just to get more points to pull them back into it, because we've only got 6.5 minutes left. 6.5
minutes, 13 points between them. It's nothing really.
It's 1 power jam away from a lead change.
Yeah, so that's Biohazard awarded lead. The star comes straight off the little weapon. Star has been passed.
I believe that's Filth.
Filth. Always Filth getting the star passes.
Filth is just so alert to it, so quick to get off the line. Really dynamic, just like that, avoiding the crash with a nice bit of reverse skating, backwards skating.
So that's another 4 points in called. Nottingham doing their job, just eking out the score here. So just down to 6 minutes to go in the game. We have 2 pivots on track for the moment then.
It looks like Filth's doing double duty.
That's leadership for you.
I think, have we got 1 in the box for Oxford? We have indeed. So they've obviously taken the start. So they've exposed the outside line here. So is the Nottingham Jammer going to... No, Nottingham Jammer's committed down the inside.
So it's Mac against Thembo again. Always Thembo been sent to the box. They appear to be walking in that direction. It's a back block. It's just been confirmed, so it is a power jam to Mac. Mac just taking it easy. They're leading by 17 points. 5 minutes to go. Nothing silly here. Just get a pass, maybe 2 if you can.
Just got to maintain. If anything, they want to just control this jam for a little bit longer, because Thembo hasn't made their initial pass. They've got to go around once anyway before they can even force Mac to put that call off in. So it all comes down to how well Nottingham defenders. So I believe Thembo's about to come back on. There we go. Waiting for the star pass.
So apparently that was actually Mac's initial. No, they have been awarded points.
Thembo is back in the box. That's a massive momentum shift. Forearm, sadly.
So could this be the moment in the game where it all changes in Nottingham's favour? Currently leading by 25 points. A second power jam in the jam.
I think it's going to be the moment after this jam, because now they're going to realise, Oxford's going to realise, we've just given away 2 power jams that have cost us 12 points. I mean, there's still 30 seconds at this point as well, so this could be a 16-point jam coming up.
If not more, because like I say, Fembo is still on their initial pass.
Yeah.
So even when they return to track,
Fembo's really going to be kicking themselves looking back at this jam.
it's just how you react mentally to this that is the key, really.
33 points is what separates the team at present. 15 seconds left on the clock. I think Mac's going to get an easy couple more points again as they exit the pack. You can feel the desperation there from the Oxford jammer Fembo.
So Fembo is out of the pack now, but
hit time.
It just comes to its natural conclusion. A 20-0 jam to Nottingham there.
Oxford are going to be rethinking that and thinking that's probably a jam they want to forget.
So it's 37 points between them now, 3 and a bit minutes to go. And in the middle of the screen you can see big whoop of a referee there. This is his 401st game, I believe.
400, what did you just say?
401st.
401st. Can you believe that, Chris? 401st game.
Who likes Derby enough to do 400 games?
Apparently Mr. Whoop does.
I believe, is it Pretty Miffed when you hosted in Stoke? Was that her 1000th game, I believe?
No.
I could be making it up, but I'm pretty sure it was 1,000. Maybe it was 500.
Let's make it 1,001.
Well, they've done games since then, so
yeah.
1,002. I could be making it up. It might have been 500, but it might have been 1,000,000. Who knows?
That was at the Biddulph Leisure Centre, wasn't it, when we hosted here?
It was, yeah, not far from where we are at the moment.
Yeah, because I think Stoke played Wirral, and
it was Railtown.
Railtown versus, I want to say,
Coventry.
Yeah, that's it. Coventry making a return to this to champs this season. It's always good to see Red on track.
Yeah, so in fact that was actually a 22-point jam there, so 150 to 111. An official timeout taking place, but I can't see any changes having been made. Front to our screen, it's Rudd against Liz and Let Die. Liz and Let Die look to be taking her usual path, but then cut inwards. So I believe that it's actually Rudd who is lead. So I think Rudd's just going to let Liz and Let Die get within touching distance of the pack and then call it, just to eat the seconds off.
Yeah, at this point, all Nottingham have got to do is maintain.
Yeah.
And every second they burn there is perfect. Liz and Let Die missing out on a lead opportunity there, but quick behind on the heels.
So that was Rudd's first lead in 5 jams, I understand. So
at this point in the game, as a bench, you'd be considering if you've got a power line and you want to get that gap, you're going to have to play them and get them to double duty, because it's absolutely essential that they claw those points back, and you're only going to get 1, maybe 2 more jams out of this.
Yeah, so Brio has it up against Eagle.
It's not a good start for Oxford there. Either they've mentally switched off or
I
just
think
tired.
that 22-point jam's probably done it for them, really. So if they were within touching distance in that jam, it just put the game to bed, really. And I think possibly it's been a long weekend. Everyone's tired now.
Yeah.
Let's just get it over with. It's less than 2 minutes to go. Brio has it, putting 4 points up. I mean, this scoreline doesn't really reflect how well Oxford have played in the second half, does it?
No, not at all. I mean, hopefully the one thing Oxford can take away from this is the fact that at present Nottingham are under 186. Oxford, if they can get a few more points, they can say, yeah, we outperformed ourselves. Generally speaking, Oxford have outperformed this game compared to what they did earlier in the season, and it was only because of power jams. It wasn't majorly soul destroying or crushing.
Yeah.
They're mostly consistent play, keeping their heads in it. It's just those 2 power jams is what's made that big gap.
I mean, it has been a tremendous performance by both teams, really. It's just unfortunate the score line is just getting the way it currently is. That's another.
There's nothing more tiring than a game where it's like the Sheffield Hallam game, much like this game as well. Nothing more tiring than playing a game that's always so close, because you're always trying to think, we've done that, what can we do better? Whereas if you're in a game where there's such a big difference in the points, you just resign to, it's gone now, let's just have a bit of fun, go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
But no, this mental exhaustion at this point.
I say I'm mentally exhausted. Oxford haven't scored in 4 jams, it appears, but now I believe they have lead Fembo Party Killer. Less than 20 seconds left on the period clock. So bring the party, Fembo.
Only need a 42-point jam with no reply from Nottingham.
It could be done. Just stay out of the box, it'll be all good. So Max still in the pack. So Fembo picking up points with impunity. Oh, a big hit there by 4-5-1 Betty Malsisha. So the period clock has gone dead. So unless anyone has a timeout, this will be the last action of the game. There goes Mac. Mac is out. Fembo also out.
Deep breaths, Fembo, deep breaths. And that is game.
That's that. Anyone going to call a timeout? Doesn't look like it. Nice, strong finish to the game there by Oxford. 163 to 115. It doesn't feel like that differential is fair, really. But
it's not a good reflection of the work that both teams have put into this game. And looking at that points, comparing it to the season, probably had a very similar game. And once again, probably just power jams that have come into it. Not just from sheer dominance consistently. It's just power jams. It's just those mistakes creeping through.
Yeah. Both teams done themselves proud there, but there can only be one bronze medalist, and that is Nottingham. Sorry.
Scandal.
So congratulations to Nottingham. Commiserations to Oxford. I'm Liam Meadsome.
And I'm Mr. Hazard.
And this is Chris and Chips just off camera.
Producer.
We hope you had a wonderful weekend of roller derby. If you're lucky, you can just catch the last few minutes of a Rebellion game on track 2. And from us, is have a lovely weekend.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Live long and prosper.